Ecstatic Bliss. Secrets to living a juicy life. Namaste, my loves. Welcome to today's topic about non-judgment or dropping the judgment, stepping out of labeling, classification, categorization, in total, to let go of judging something as this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, the duality of life, the polarity of life, to step out of it. Because this was actually one, and still is, one of the key elements and tools I use to be more centered in the line and also to free myself from limitations. Because any label, either direction, up or down, left or right, limits potential of yourself, of others, of the world, of what you perceive as real or as valid or as possible. And also it brings a certain flavor into something of this is right and wrong. Yes, I mean, how does it work? Judgment is in a way the classification, the categorization our mind does to see, is this something for me or not? Is it love or fear? Is it danger or is it something I can trust? So once we incarnate, actually, we have this labeling system and categorization system to identify or disidentify with something, to connect with something or to disconnect, to really feel to something drawn to or to distance ourselves. So it's in a way how our mind can navigate through life. That's why we have labels, classification, identification. But once you come to the point that you see actually each label, words are also labels, and all of this limits your capacity to perceive reality or the truth as it is, or the deeper truth behind the truth that we think it is the truth. The more you come to realize, I don't really want to classify, to categorize, to judge. I want to step out of it and just perceive it and see it, notice it, sense it as it is. So non-judgment brings you away from polarity into oneness, we can say. Because you don't pin a label on it. Judgment is labeling, for me at least. It is saying this is something higher or lower. This is something I resonate with or not, and it's totally fine. But once it blocks us in our own self-expression or even diminishes our own value by, for example, judging ourselves, our mind, our beliefs, our situations, our experiences, how we feel, so much also is about self-judgment. And then we actually put ourselves in a very dark light. We don't fully accept ourselves. So non-judgment not only puts us in the perspective of oneness, everything is equally valid, equally valuable, and actually all the same, it just is, but it also helps us to see actually the beauty in everything, including ourselves. Without comparison has also a connection with judgment, actually, because then you categorize again, you classify, okay, someone is further on the spiritual path as you, for example, you are more ahead of someone. So it's all like giving us a direction, yes, which is nice. But if you come to a point where you're like, I don't really need those directions because I know how I navigate, I know my own self-worth, my own self-truth, and maybe the identity I created or the behind that identity, my essence, I know my core, my being, love that I am. You don't need so much of navigation tools or these helpers of navigation. Labels are here to help us navigate. Because you see, like, it just restricts at some point this navigation. First, it helps But at some point on that journey, when you expand your consciousness, you see those polarity aspects are one. We talked a little bit about it in the episode when I was talking about the masculine and feminine energy, which is a representation of all polarities, that all are, and you know the saying, two sides of the same coin. And non-judgment brings the coin in focus without seeing the two sides separately. And yes, you can switch perspective to see them separately and then come back to it. But the coming back is the most important part of it. To step out, to drop the judgment. And the judgment also helps a lot in your own self-reflection and on your own self-evolution by accepting everything that you experience, that you think and feel. Because I feel a lot of people don't allow themselves to feel what they feel. And so then it turns into suppression. They suppress their feelings, which in turn can lead to depression, or at least at some point it may outburst in anger like a volcano. And by accepting, okay, this is how I feel and I love myself for feeling it now through, without judgment, without making any sense of it, just feeling it through, a lot is already released by it. Non-judgment is a total acceptance of what is. That's the definition, actually. And seeing oneness in everything. How to cultivate it? I mean, we are brainwashed almost, I can say, or at least conditioned once we come here to think in categories. That's the case. We think in categories. Even if we just think of this is a car, this is a tree, and then there are subcategories. Yeah, trees with needles, trees with leaves, trees maybe without anything of that. So we have categorizations, under categorizations, classification systems for our mind, but our soul knows. We don't have to judge anything, because any judgment, any categorization, any label, yet again, restricts reality. So if you want to expand your consciousness, at some point you have to, in a way, drop judgment, which is also a lot more, not only freedom, but also a lot of more peace inside of you. Accepting things as they are. And so coming back to how we get into non-judgment, into that state, it's in a way, first of all, becoming aware of your classical concepts and categorizations and what you think, what you have been conditioned to. And then questioning your own system, questioning your own concept, questioning your judgments. So becoming aware, when do you judge? And maybe also, why do you judge? And what is the purpose of judging? What is the benefit for you to judge? And also not to judge yourself because you judge. I mean, not judging yourself, judging. But accepting, interesting. I judge this culture maybe, or I judge this religion maybe. Becoming aware of it. And then questioning your own belief system. By questioning, you already shift a little bit of, is that really true? How I judge something or someone. And then maybe you can establish kind of a part inside of you that has the opposite view. So if you judge something as good and the other person as bad, you can step into both parts and see, okay, why is it maybe good or why is it maybe bad? And what are the viewpoints behind it? Even when you are in conversation, you can always step into the other position of how the other person sees something and why someone is classifying or judging something. So obviously you can do it with yourself, but you can also do it with someone else. And ultimately, it's also about dropping reactions from being judged. So not only that you are the judger, but also obviously a lot of people around you will be judging you. The more you are visible outside, the more you share maybe your wisdom, share your gifts, share your products, whatever you do, the more you show yourself out there, the more there will be judgment or projections at least. And then you can look into yourself. What does it do with yourself, with your self-worth, and with your self-love? Can you accept yourself and stay rooted in your own truth and essence while being judged, maybe also while having those mirrors and projections onto you? Being centered and knowing this is a story of the other. I mean, yes, you can look into if this is a mirroring effect where you have still some triggers or issues that you can, if you want, work on, but also that you realize actually that doesn't really have to bother you so much when you stay focused in your own non-judgmental state of being. And then you actually also give the opportunity for others to actually realize or perceive there is an option not to judge. We have only learned to think in these categories. And by categorization, I feel we almost always automatically judge. It's not a negative thing. I'm just saying that judgment restricts our capacity to see reality as it is, or see at least a deeper layer of reality, of the truth, than we currently perceive. And if you are on that journey to expand your consciousness, dropping judgment is a very key, essential aspect of your self-development, I feel. At least that was on my journey. And it still helps me to always be openness to just seeing curiosity what is as it is, or at least making the try of how is it really behind my judgment. And the more often you practice this, the sooner, the faster, the easier you get out of the first judgment impression you have or classification mechanism into interesting. Yeah, just this curiosity somehow to, oh, this is interesting, or this is what it is. This is who that being is, or I'm curious to find out more layers of that thing or being or experience. There are always so many layers behind our first impression, obviously. Don't judge a book by its cover, just coming to me. And this is really true because you never know. Your first judgment really restricts also your capacity to receive someone as their true essence. It helped us in the past when we were maybe threatened of wild animals. But nowadays, it's more oftentimes, I feel, restricting to really see the love deep down that is behind anything and anyone. And this is what I wanted to share with you today, to reflect upon your judgment, your self-judgment, your judgment about others or towards others, and also about your experiences, about the world, about different religions, countries, cultures, name it, that you reflect upon it. And then that you, in everyday life and everyday scenes, remind yourself like, okay, am I now judging? Am I classifying, labeling too soon into something? Or am I allowing to be open to look deeper into the deeper layers of that experience, thing, or person? To be really open also for love, actually. Yes, in this sense, so much love and bliss for you, and see you next time.